After 4 years of waiting, we finally had our first taste of Starfield gameplay at the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase event, where Todd Howard, leather jacket and all, told us a lot about Bethesda's upcoming space RPG. He revealed even more in an interview with IGN, plus I spotted a lot of interesting details going over the gameplay footage a second time, so if you're excited for more details on Starfield skill systems, spaceship creation, combat and way more, then a like on the video would really help the channel out, and let's go! So the first thing you do when booting up the game is of course creating a character. The character creator looks decent enough, you're even able to pick between different walking cycles for your character, and if you're not happy with what you made at the start, you can already see over here that you will be able to change your looks at a genetics facility. The real interesting stuff starts after you've finished your looks though, as that's when you get to pick your background and traits. Your background gives a bit of flavor to your character, but more importantly it decides the 3 skills you start out with. So for instance, if your character was a chef before their journey into space started, you start off with the gastronomy, so cooking skill, as well as dueling due to your past experience with knives and the wellness skill. Picking a diplomat will give you a completely different set of skills, and with persuasion, diplomacy and bargaining unlocked from the start, you can already get a lot more out of conversations and trading. In an interview with IGN's Ryan McCaffrey, Todd Howard even mentioned that backgrounds will sometimes offer unique dialogue or interactions as well. But to me, the final part of character creation is the most interesting one, as this is where you get to pick 3 traits. You might remember them from some of the Fallout games like New Vegas, but these completely optional quote-unquote skills give you an extra benefit but also have a drawback to them as well. You can pick up to 3 of them, but if you don't want any limitations or debuffs on your character, you can also start without any traits. To give an example as to what these do, the first trait shown, introvert, means you will have more endurance when adventuring alone, but less when adventuring with other human companions. And not all traits have strict gameplay benefits either, as we can also see kid stuff, which means you can visit your parents, but you also owe them 10% of all the money you earn. There's also some traits related to factions, so you can already pick some really interesting stuff here before you even jump into the game proper. I'm personally hoping that a variant of the Wild Wild Wasteland from New Vegas returns, which just means that there are some really weird random events that can pop up in your playthrough. And then, after making your character and playing through a tutorial, you are eventually set free to explore the over 1000 planets Starfield has to offer. There will of course be a main quest as well, and while we do not know much about it, we do know that the Constellation faction is going to be a major player in that one. In that same IGN interview I mentioned earlier, Todd described them as NASA meets Indiana Jones meets the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which sounds like a very interesting cocktail, and that the mysterious artifacts we see in the trailers will also play an important role. He also noted that the game's main quest would be a bit bigger than what we've come to expect from the studio, clocking it at around 30 to 40 hours. There should also be a lot of handcrafted locations and encounters in there, more so than in any previous Bethesda game. And he also put the total lines of dialogue for the game at 200,000, which again is significantly more than the studio's previous projects, with Fallout 4 having 110,000 and Skyrim clocking in at 60,000. Oh, and if you were wondering, none of those lines will be spoken by the protagonist, as the official Bethesda account confirmed on Twitter that dialogue cutscenes will be in first person and your character will not be voiced. We also saw our first glimpse of combat in Starfield, and unsurprisingly a large part of it is focused on firearms, which we will use to combat space pirates and dangerous alien creatures. I have to say that both the sound and impact behind these personally did not leave me that impressed, but it definitely looks better than most of their previous titles. There are some cool little features we already saw, like a low gravity jump or even combat in low gravity, and of course, like other Bethesda titles, you are able to swap to third person on the fly and experience the game that way. Weapons also look really cool, and you can select multiple of them from a weapon wheel, and we saw the player use an SMG and a shotgun, while they later also pick up a new weapon that looks to be a laser rifle. And we actually get to mod a lot of individual parts on these weapons from the looks of it too. In an overview of some of the different research projects that are available to us, we can see that when it comes to weapons, we can research new barrels, grips, optics and muzzles, which is already a lot of customization. Later we see even more upgrades displayed on a customized pistol, from which we can see that you can also upgrade the magazine size. And of course, weapon upgrades aren't the only things you can research. There's also stuff like new equipment, which looks to include armor, medicine or even outpost development, which I assume feeds into the outpost creation feature that was also showcased. Some of these projects are also linked to specific skills, and the skill system in general is looking like a pretty interesting evolution of the Bethesda formula. They are divided into 5 categories, those being physical, social, combat, science and tech, with each of the categories that were shown having more than 15 individual skills in them. them. You start with 3 skills from the background you picked in character creation, and then by leveling up you gain skill points to unlock new skills. Each individual skill can also be ranked up, which is tied to specific challenges that require you to use that skill. An example they showed here was the ballistic skill. When you unlock it, you get a 10% damage boost for your ballistic weapons, but the current player character already had the skill at rank 3, so the boost is increased to 30% instead. They've also completed the current challenge of scoring 250 kills with a ballistic weapon, meaning they can upgrade the skill to rank 4 and unlock the 30% range increase for ballistic weapons as well. And also, neat little detail, but the icon of the skill changes when you rank it up, so now it's showing a cute little octopus decked out with firearms. However, the parts of the presentation that left me most impressed were the space combat and spaceship customization. During the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, it was revealed that you are able to fully customize and build your own spaceship. By looking into this footage a little bit further, we can already figure out a lot of the systems behind spaceship crafting and flight. And by the way, we did learn from Todd that you won't be able to seamlessly fly from a planet's surface into space, so space flight and planetary exploration are very much their own separate things. So when you're building your spaceship, you can change up and attach individual parts, even change their colors if you so choose. While some parts have a very simple function, like your landers, some will alter or improve your ship's stats in some way. When we look at the bottom, we can see the stats for the 3 different weapon types we have on our ships: ballistics, lasers and missiles, as well as our hull and shield health, the amount of cargo we can haul, and the amount of crew members that fit on the ship. You will be able to hire your own crew members, by the way, so you get to choose who joins the party and who doesn't. And if you and your crew find a nice spot to land during your travels, you will of course also have the option to create your own outpost there. By placing an outpost beacon, you can construct a variety of structures like living quarters, but there are also buildings that will generate resources for you. And much like your spaceship, you can even hire NPCs to help you man your outpost when you are gone. I presume we'll have to recruit these at some of the larger cities in the galaxy. Todd Howard mentioned to IGN that there will be 4 major cities in Starfield, with the showcased New Atlantis being the biggest city Bethesda has ever made. And the trade menu also makes mention of a city called Neon, which might be another one of these 4 major cities. But when traveling to and from these locations, you might of course run into pirates, which means you'll have to engage them in space combat. And we see a lot of the same stats from spaceship creation show up on the HUD here. We have the 3 familiar weapon types, our current speed, and a boost function in the middle of the screen. And on the bottom right, you can see your ship's shield strength and hull integrity. The most interesting display is on the bottom left though, as this shows the current power distribution across your ship's key systems. We once again have the 3 different weapon systems, as well as engine power, shields, and your gravity drive, which is what you use to jump to a different system. And it looks like we are able to redistribute that power on the fly, very similar to a game like Star Wars Squadrons. So say you're being ambushed by some space pirates and you don't feel like fighting. You can divert power away from your weapons to your shields and engines to make sure you can get away faster and don't suffer any damage. Alternatively, if you're the one springing an ambush, put all your ship's power into your weapons to destroy your enemies before they have a chance to even fire back. And it goes without saying that the way your ship performs relies heavily on the parts that you use for crafting it. Different engines can increase your speed, or adding a fuel tank can increase your jump range. Also interesting to note here is that in one of the menus there is a skill that shows up that is labeled as Starship Design. And during the extended Xbox showcase, Pete Hines mentioned that you are actually able to craft your own spaceship parts, although he did also hint at the fact that customizing and building spaceships is a pretty expensive hobby. But if building spaceships is not your thing, you'll be happy to know that stealing a spaceship is also an option, as this was mentioned by both Pete Hines and Todd Howard. Todd even mentioned we can disable hostile ships and board them, as well as visit other ships and space stations. And yeah, overall it just seems like there is a lot to do in Starfield. We haven't even covered all the systems in this video yet. There's still the extensive research system and planetary exploration, which includes the ability to land at any spot on the planet's surface. The more I learn, the more excited I get. I'm a bit worried that the combat might feel a bit lackluster, and I hope there's enough focus on the role-playing side of things as well, but then again, that spaceship creator looks so cool I could probably lose days in that alone, and then there's still the rest of the game. So remember to leave a like if you liked the video and subscribe so you won't miss the next one. If you want, you can watch our previous video on all the big announcements from the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. I'll see you in the next one, goodbye.